morning, Oakcrest. I'm Cal Ripken Jr. Thank you for tuning into the morning show.
Good morning, Oakcrest. Thank you for tuning in today.
Good morning, Oakcrest.
You are watching Good Morning Oakcrest.
Good morning, Oakcrest.
Good morning, Oakcrest.
Good morning, Oakcrest. It's Friday, January 1st, 2010. Happy New Year. We hope you had a great New Year celebration. Well, the studio may be closed today, but we have a brand new show for you anyway. A new episode of Author Showcase is on its way. Tameka Wilson sits down with author Michele Hartlove to discuss her book, The Chosen One. That'll be coming up shortly. First, a quick announcement. We just want to let all of our residents know that with a new year, we're launching a brand new schedule. Monday, January 4th, WOCV Channel 973 will be launching an all-new schedule, while Good Morning Oakcrest will be keeping its usual times of 10 a.m., 2 p.m., 7 p.m., 9 p.m. and midnight. A couple of our other shows will be changing their regular air times, so make sure you check next week's TV guide to see the full schedule. Once again, that starts Monday, January 4th. Well, enough announcements for now. We're going to get to our show. Stay tuned to your source for Oakcrest news, information, and entertainment. Good Morning Oakcrest starts now.
Welcome back to the program. Today, it's Author Showcase, and I'm sitting here with Michele Hartlove, who joins us to talk about her background and her writings. Michele, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Tameka.
Well, why don't we start with your background? Where are you from?
I'm from Perry Hall, which is right down the road. That's where I grew up. I went to St. Joseph's Fullerton, right down the road. I went to Notre Dame Preparatory High School in Towson, and then out to University of Notre Dame, and graduated from there. And since then have been various places with my careers. As a news reporter, I started at the Aegis in Bel Air, went down to Salisbury, Maryland with the Times, came back up to Delaware with the News Journal. I worked in between at the Evening Sun for a little while as a stringer on the Eastern Shore, and now I live in Cecil County, Maryland.
So you're a local girl.
Yes.
Yeah. I think our residents really like speaking and getting to know those who are local in the area.
Definitely a Ravens and Orioles fan.
Oh, well, there you go. So she's family.
Yes. I'm a Baltimore girl.
Go Ravens, go Ravens. Well, you know, you've written, talk to us about your writings. Have you always been a writer?
I've always loved to write. Since I was 10 years old, I wrote a book in a notebook type of thing. I have always liked English, the English language, writing. Like I said, I entered contests, won some contests, and took various creative writing courses, and then entered the news reporting field. So as a journalist, I was always writing. Also, I am in copywriting. I own a small advertising agency and continue to write with that. But my love now is writing novels. And so, yes, I guess I've always been a writer.
Well, when you were news reporting, what channel were you on?
I was a TV news reporter at WMDT down in Salisbury for a little bit.
How did you like that?
The rest was news reporting for newspapers. I did, but I realized that wasn't my thing. They wanted me to take voice lessons and I think at one point, kind of walking lessons, and I said, no, I'm a journalist, a reporter at heart, and I think what I do best is write.
So they were trying, they were trying to change who you were, and you weren't feeling comfortable with that?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I rebelled against that a little.
There you go. Well, as a journalist, what are some things that you worked on?
I started with the Aegis as I was their first female police and courts reporter. So I worked on some really rough cases, a murder for hire, some traumatic cases with, with the spouse abuse and rape center, some court cases that were really tough emotionally for me as my first job. And I've covered everything from government to, 4th of July fireworks.
So you have
everything.
A wide range of things.
I love investigative reporting. That was my favorite.
Okay. Well, you certainly have you do advertising agency full time now, but your first love now is writing. So tell us about some of your novels.
Well, The Faithful One is the one I'm here today about, which is my first to get published. And that is considered inspirational and yet mainstream fiction. It's a modern day story based on the Bible's book of Job, where a guy is in his prime, has everything going for him, has a beautiful wife, 3 wonderful children, 2 boys in college and a daughter in high school, has a wonderful career, international restaurateur, fame, fortune, lives in a mansion in Boston, picture of health, friends, loyal employees. He just has everything, and he's a good guy. And through a series of unfortunate events beyond his control, he starts to lose everything one by one and starts to question God. Why me? It's like the question, why do bad things happen to good people? A lot of us question that, and why am I having these problems? And if you think you have problems, he had, just like Job in the Bible, a lot of problems, to the point where he's dying and wants to die because he's, what's the point? And his friends try to give him some answers, like maybe you need to repent, maybe you maybe you weren't living as good a life as you thought, surely you did something to bring this on. And he doesn't buy into that, and finally gets an unexpected answer through a stranger who helps save his life. And his life starts coming back together, but I don't want to give any more away.
There you go.
And I have written another novel, and I'm working on a memoir now as well. The first novel that I wrote, titled at the time "Learned by Heart," title's still in flux. That hasn't been published yet, but it won a prize for that first place in the Maryland Writers Association novel contest. And I was about to go to an agency in New York, and they were located in the towers, and 9/11 happened. So the agency never took it on. So I'm reworking that as well. And there's some other ideas that I have up my sleeve.
Yeah.
So.
Well, if you're just joining me, I'm speaking with Michele Hartlove. She joins us today for Author Showcase, and we're excited about it. She's telling us about her background as well as some of the things that she's been working on. Now, Michele, when we're talking about The Faithful One, your first novel, and of course, those familiar with the book of Job, when they read your book, is it almost kind of like the book of Job, or do you give us an unexpected type of Michele Hartlove turn twist, or what are we to expect with this novel?
I stayed very true to the book of Job in its essence. I did some research, had some help with actually a pastor at my church, and really stayed true to that story, but in a modern day way, so that it's realistic, so that people, even if they're not familiar with the book of Job, I think will get something out of it. Can see themselves and can enjoy it as a work of fiction. But all the feedback I've gotten say that people are familiar with the book of Job say that I do stay true to that story in a believable way.
Right. Do you think your faith inspired you to do this book, or what inspired you to do the book?
I think the idea did come from God. I was actually, but I didn't see that at the time. It's just like an idea that took hold of me and it wouldn't let go. I was actually working on a totally different novel about family relations. I had written the first one. I was trying to get it out there into agents' hands. I was working on this second one, developing characters. And I was driving down Route 40 near Aberdeen, and I saw this neon sign, used books and Bibles. I looked up, I saw this billboard. I couldn't tell you what it said, but it was religious. And this idea came to me. I've always liked that book in the Bible for some reason. And the idea came to me, you should write a modern day story based on the book of Job. And out of the blue, and I just couldn't put it down. I thought, yeah, that's a pretty good idea, but I'm already writing this other thing. And I just started it, and I just had to see it through all the way to getting it published.
What is your writing style like? Do you write all the way through when you have this passion, or do you pause in between? I mean, what is your process to get a project finished?
It's hard work. I went to a writer's conference once and heard the author Anna Quinlan say, people think, oh, I love writing. I don't like to write. I like having written, and that's true for me too. It's hard to get up and say, okay, I'm going to write 10 pages. It's good to have an outline. I usually go with that, and I've learned that through different writing workshops, writing conferences, at least a beginning, an idea of where it's going, and possibly where it's going to end. But it's funny, when you start writing, it kind of takes on a life of its own. Characters develop and change as you're writing them, and it actually was written all the way, and in putting it out there with some readers, one suggested a different twist towards the end, and so I went with that.
Okay.
And a lot of readers aren't happy about that. Some like it, some don't.
So, well, you have some traditional readers, and then you have those who are just waiting for, just a different type of creative turn. But tell us, I know that, writing or when one channels their creative ability, and they're expressing that ability, it does something for them. So I guess my question is to you, what does writing do for you? Just writing in particular.
I think it's therapeutic. Definitely with the memoir I'm working on now. And it releases a lot of, thoughts, energy. I never want to sit down and write for an hour, because I just know that won't be enough. So when I sit down to write, I can, sometimes find myself, the sun setting, and I'm like, oh my gosh, but in a good way. So I'd say and I like having written. I like to look back and say, wow, and I've learned to pray a little before I write, invite the Holy Spirit in and to help. And I actually started doing that when I was halfway through. Friends told me they could tell, the first part was before I really started growing spiritually, I guess, and then they could tell, when that kind of changed. And then I went back and edited it, so it all kind of comes together. So I like to write. It's hard work, but I think it's worthwhile to get, I think we all have a story in us, and to get that message out there.
Yeah. I'm speaking with Michele Hartlove. She's an author, and she's here for Author Showcase today, joining us and talking to us a lot about her background, as well as some of the work she's written. We're going to go for a quick break, but when we come back, we'll talk more with Michele about her work. You're watching WOCV here on Channel 973. Stay tuned.
One month's membership to the fitness center, $17. Lunch at Banners, $7. A 1-hour session with housekeeping, $22.50. Being able to use a credit card to pay for the goods and services that you use every day at Oakcrest? Priceless. Most things money can buy, but now you have an option. Credit card service now available at most Oakcrest locations.
Welcome back to Good Morning Oakcrest. We're watching Author Showcase. You're joining us for Author Showcase, and I'm sitting here with Michele Hartlove, who is an author, joining us today talking about her book and her life. Michele, The Faithful One, we just finished talking about that, the novel that pretty much coins the whole Book of Job idea. What has been some of the feedback that people have given you from reading your work?
A lot of people said it made them cry. A good part of it's sad. I mean, he really goes through some hardships. A lot of people have really liked it, and some have said it really helped with their faith in God. A couple have said they didn't like that surprise ending, kind of who he ends up with.
Yeah.
But overall, I've gotten great feedback that everybody enjoyed it. Some people have read it in 2 or 3 days. And that, you were asking about my style of writing. I tend to be like plot driven and don't get bogged down too much in the literacy part. You know, in flowery language and too much description. I'm more fast-paced, so it's a
Okay.
faster read.
Okay.
And a lot happens, so, you know, and yet I feel like I developed all the characters.
Do you think the book falls into a fiction? I know it's based on a real story, but do you think that it's, is it fiction or is it nonfiction?
Definitely fiction.
Okay.
But believable, like I said, in the book of Job, if anybody's you know, familiar with that, you know, I think the house falls on all the kids, and you know, he has like 11 kids and they all die, and then he gets 11 more and he's 100-some years old. That's not believable in today's world. So he loses people and things and gets his life back in a different way.
Okay. Well, you were talking a little bit in the earlier part of the show about some things that are coming in the future from Michele Hartlove. Tell us, what are some of those things?
Well, besides some of the works I told you I was working on, I would love for this novel to be adapted into a screenplay and be on the big screen one day. I have written a screenplay and entered it in some contests, and I'm pursuing that. You know, keep my fingers crossed. You know, I do operate and own my ad agency, but I'd like eventually for this to take off and to become a novelist. You know, keeping my day job until that happens, but I would love to write more. And people have been, you asked about readers' input, a lot have been saying, you know, what's next? We're ready to read the next one.
Yeah.
So that's encouraging.
What do you think about the new digital age as it is, where, you know, not is it just written anymore, but it's also being put on a more of a digital format, be it video. You know, things are more accessible with iPods and iPhones and all of the digital stuff. Is that where you see most of your work going?
I hope not, because I just still like to pick up a book and read it.
You're traditional. Huh?
I am. It is available.
They call that old school with
I
the
am
young
old
people.
School. I'm old school, although the internet's helping, you know, we authors get out there, and you know, I'm grateful for that. It is available in an ebook. I'm trying to get it into Kindle because that's popular.
The new thing.
And we have to be able to go with that flow, because that is the wave of the future. But I hope that books stay in libraries and books stay in bookstores, and that there is, and today it's still out there. So
what do you think, Michele, is the biggest challenge for authors these days?
The biggest challenge for authors, one is to get published, because it's really very competitive, and with this economy, publishers aren't taking risks on new writers. They're just not. They're going with the tried and true, the Dan Brown, the John Grisham, the Danielle Steele, and
the household names.
Right.
If
right, because it's a risk. They're plunking down money, and they're not going to spend money on an unknown. So more and more writers, the last figure I heard was like at least 86% are going self-published. But luckily, with things like the internet, the new technology, it's easier to get yourself out there.
All right. Well, Michele, we thank you so much for coming out today, telling us all about your work, your life, and your book, The Faithful One.
Well, thank you.
And I'm sure that you'll have some events coming up. So where can people just get an idea of where you'll be in the community?
Well, I have been doing various book signings here and there. I've hopefully coming up at the Barnes & Noble in White Marsh. I've done a few at the Barnes & Noble in Bel Air. The best way to keep track is to visit my website, michellehartlove.com, and drop me an email, or just keep in touch, and I'm continually having different book signings and events.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Michele. We look forward to seeing some more work from you. I've been chatting with Michele Hartlove. She joins us today on Good Morning Oakcrest for Author Showcase. If you'd like to watch our program again from start to finish, you could do that at the rebroadcast times of 2, 7, 9, as well as midnight. For Good Morning Oakcrest, I'm Tameka Wilson. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day.